Switzerland. You probably know it for its chocolate, watch industry, but did you know they also make some really great wines? 99% of Swiss wines are consumed locally, so only 1% is left for the overseas market, which makes them quite rare to find. One of the most known Swiss wines is canton from Graubünden, so that makes the region the most known in Switzerland. There are some gems that I've discovered in 2022, which I'm going to share with you today. Weinbau Michel Broger. Michel Broger makes some of the most fantastic wines, and today we're going to zoom into a region that is very unfamiliar to probably most of our viewers, AOC Thurgau. AOC Thurgau is located in the northeastern part of Switzerland, just bordering Lake Constance, where you have a town called Weinfelden. Michel Broger started his career in Schlossgut Bachtobel, which is another great producer of AOC Thurgau. So he established a winery in the early 2000s, just purchasing his first vineyards and starting to produce the wines he wanted to produce. So Michel Broger doesn't follow very traditional methods, although he studied very classic winemaking and took a very classic approach from Schlossgut Bachtobel. Michel Broger can be summed up in three things: minimal intervention, biodynamic inspired, very low sulfur use in the vineyards as well as in the winemaking and élevage. His wines tend to need a lot of bottle age before being consumed, and he produces a couple of different styles of wine. So he has a Weinfelden, which is a regional Pinot Noir expression, a little bit lighter in body, although very serious because he puts it in oak and it ages in oak. Today we're going to visit Michel Broger, who is one of the most talented winemakers of the region. We're here to explore the vineyards, the winemaking, and we're going to taste the 2025 vintage of Michel Broger. Ottoberg is where Michel Broger's best Pinot Noirs are from. This whole site where some of the best Pinot Noir of the region is grown. So the reason why you probably didn't hear from AOC Thurgau is because it's one of Switzerland's smallest wine appellation with roughly 250 hectares of vineyards only. And it only represents 2% of Switzerland's vineyard area. So Michel introduced us to his vineyard that sits right behind his house, and it's split by a main road. And you have the northern side, which is high in altitude, and the southern side, Schnellberg, one of the top sites he produces. The idea of Michel is to work very intuitively in the vineyard. He doesn't work according to biodynamic practices because sometimes the time doesn't allow it. But he does follow the lunar calendar, which basically dictates when he does certain things in the vineyard. But it's mostly intuitive and very logical. So when he was just saying that he's already at this point that he doesn't need to use any fertilizer in the vineyard. It's all self-regulated. He doesn't open up the soil like most wineries would because there's no shortage of any nutrition. So with 2 meter distance, he went for a more practical choice in case you want to work the vines more with machinery. It is possible really from 2 meters. So the general impressions of the vines is that super healthy. You have a forest up there, and the biodiversity is crazy. So you have trees and everything. So the old vines continue over there. They're around 50 years old, and that's a continuation of the Schnellberg monopole, 0.6 hectares of Pinot Noir. This is a real new project. It's not going to be Pinot Noir, but he will reveal it once it's ready. After he explained us his vineyard work, we go into the cellar, and immediately we recognize that there is no technology whatsoever in the cellar. We don't have any industrial cooling here, and this gives it a natural protection. So the wine should really feel the temperature change and so on, because it also means when you install climate control, it's more of a made thing. And here he kind of lets the wine age in different environments, and that kind of creates a whole character in itself. It lets the air out. CO2. The CO2 can come out, but no air can come inside. It's sometimes can be risky for lots of unpleasant bacteria, but when the smell is really natural and clean, you can kind of sense that something magical is happening inside here. It smells super. I wish you could smell it, but it smells super nice in here. He doesn't have any modern pumps. He basically uses gravity when he fills. He uses these things to lift up the barrels, and with gravity the wine flows. And I mean, is this your corking machine?
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if this guy does everything with the hand.
Also wenn man Naturwein abfüllen und so, hat sie eine kleine Chance, dass man es mal verhaben kann.
Ja.
Aber wenn wir größere Chancen haben, haben wir einen gemeinsamen Füller, den wir brauchen können.
Yeah, so this one is only used for very small batches, which is kind of the name of the game here. So you have a small batch of Broger Dynamisch. Anything here is a rarity, by the way. There is no commercial aspect to this winery whatsoever. So this is the 2025 vintage resting here. He writes the milligrams of SO2. This is added sulfur.
This is added.
So wine has natural sulfur levels. Back here is the completely sulfur-free things. This is his line that is called Broger Dynamisch. And Broger Dynamisch is basically his philosophy of not adding any sulfur whatsoever. So now there's something exciting happening. He told Mario to get some glasses. Hopefully some Amelie glasses. Okay. Cellar glasses are different, but we're going to give the 2025 vintage a little taste. Now we go into the backyard of his house, where his wife has kindly prepared an amazing cheese platter from local cheese production. Here he has prepared us a surprise tasting, so we're tasting through his lineup of Michel Thurgau, Riesling, and as well as Schnellberg 2024. By talking to him, it was obvious that 2024 was one of the most difficult vintages because of so much rainfall and almost no sun. Weinfelden is basically the entry-level point of Michel Broger, and Schnellberg is his monopole, 0.6 hectares. 24 is a little bit more of a lean vintage, a little bit more approachable, but still really, really high quality. A little bit more oak presence in the Weinfelden, so he uses some new barriques there, and Schnellberg is tasting super well, super good. So then he brings out a mystery bottle where we're tasting a wine that obviously has some age to it, but it's very much alive. The color is a little bit brown, so wine tends to lose color with age. So by looking at it, you could already recognize that it had several years on it. We have an old bottle from his archive.
Oh yeah,
Michel doesn't have a lot of these bottles, but really nice for him to open up an older vintage. And what you typically see when you taste an older vintage is the evolutions, how quickly the primary fruit disappears, and the color. But you can smell that it's aged. It's of tertiary aromas. I think what's really nice is that Michel is trying to really produce something that is very authentic Thurgau AOC, and it represents the appellation very well without masking it with excess amount of wood or excess amount of extraction. It feels very balanced. I did not taste any new wood flavor whatsoever, and that might be because of the age as well. I don't know. Even if Michel is trying to put some new wood into the wine, the material is so healthy and good, it doesn't absorb any different flavors other than the purity of the grape. So let's wait until... Oh, putain. I'll say...
Jesus Christ.
It was a Ottoberg Alte Rebe 2004, and Alte Rebe basically means old vines. So my guess, it was a 2007 vintage from Schnellberg, and it turns out to be a 2004 vintage. And he reveals that he used 100% new oak in that wine, which then he said is something that they taught you not to do at school, using a lot of new oak, as well as the aging capability of Pinot Noir grown from his vineyards impressed us enormously. My second visit at Michel Broger, it was an amazing experience again, tasting his new vintage of 2024 as well as the 2025. It seems that Michel Broger is really developing a very nice rhythm and a very nice equilibrium in his vineyards, where he doesn't have to do a lot of work. He just lets the nature take its course and harvests really high quality grapes, which then allows him to work with very minimal intervention in the cellar and produce some beautiful expressions of Pinot Noir. So I encourage everyone to taste some AOC Thurgau, more specifically from Michel Broger, because I believe he's one of the most talented winemakers in Switzerland as of now. Thank you, Michel, for hosting us. Thank you to your wife for preparing us a beautiful cheese platter. And if you enjoyed content like that, make sure to follow my channel, Neutral Oak. This is Neutral Oak, I'm Alexander, and with this channel, we bring the world of wine closer to you. This is an amazing place. I urge you to try these wines. You need to find them. If you can find them, if you don't find them, try and find them.